coming into your feeds to talk Below Deck Med. Now, I know last week I didn't do an episode for Below Deck Med, but that is okay. Sometimes I don't do an episode, but I'm coming in to do this episode, which some of the things kind of carried in from last episode to this one anyways. So let's kind of get into it. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is Jono and the issue with the food. Now, I don't know what's going on. He did really well the first charter with the food, but you kind of think that maybe it's just their taste buds and whatever. But then you kind of see that we're going to see a repeat of the issues in the next charter. But I don't know what type of seasoning he's using to season the food. I mean, the lunch on the beach seemed to have gone pretty smoothly, but I don't know what is going on. The first thing is he's not a chef. He's not a trained chef anyways, a traditionally trained chef. He is self-trained. He went to school for architecture. He's not a chef. Now, I give him props for doing something that he seems to be somewhat passionate about, but I also have to kind of blame whoever hired him, whether it's Sandy or whoever else, for coming onto a super yacht to feed guests that have high expectations, and he doesn't have the skill set, or he doesn't have the training. Like, he's making Gestapo. Did I say Gestapo? Gestapo? Whatever, you know what I'm talking about. And he's never made it before. And I mean, the delivery of how he explained how he made it is you don't need to say you went to Google. You went to Mr. Google to figure out how to make it. But clearly he doesn't have that experience. You're gonna come across chefs that obviously haven't cooked every cuisine or whatever. But even if you don't eat it yourself, you should still have the knowledge of how to make something. Sometimes, yes, we've seen chefs go onto Google and whatever. We've seen it before, but this is kind of different when we're talking about someone who hasn't been classically trained, if that's the word you want to use, in being a chef. So I don't know, man. I don't know. And the thing, so this was kind of more in the second episode, but obviously carried into this episode, the whole situation with the eggs, him cooking breakfast at 8:30 and letting it sit. 8:30 is early for guests to get up. Even if you're an early bird, not everyone's going to get up at 8:30 in the morning on their vacation. And yes, you're going to prep. You should be definitely prepping, but you don't need to make, in particular, cooking the eggs and then setting them there. Sandy's right. That is something you cook to order. Not everyone's going to want eggs, or maybe some people are going to want their eggs scrambled, while others maybe want sunny side up. Maybe others want an omelet. You know what I mean? They're going to want their own thing. Not everyone likes the egg the same way. And he's just cooking up these eggs and then letting them sit. And again, I love eggs very much. Nothing is worse than eating cold eggs. But the thing is, it's even if they were sitting there and he puts the towel over the food, did you just then decide to hand them this food without reheating it? Again, you can tell eggs that have been reheated. It has a certain taste to them. So you're going to tell. And he's just not reheating the food and then just giving it to them without heating up the food. Like, I feel like, again, that's the inexperience where it's like, not even so much the inexperience, it's the common sense of it all. It's like, would you eat eggs at an establishment, whether that is a super yacht or a restaurant or whatever? Would you eat cold eggs and not return them back? Would you make eggs for yourself and not eat them fresh after cooking it? Or would you just sit them there for a few hours and then eat it without reheating it again at the very least? No, you wouldn't. So why would you do that on a super yacht? And I do have to also agree. So we'll kind of just finish up this topic of the food. When we'll go back to the tip in a minute, but when she has a conversation with him after the charter has ended about, serving chicken is mediocre. Now, I disagree. I really do. Chicken is a protein, and a properly cooked chicken breast, not everyone can do that, but it can be juicy and good, and like the skin of their skin on it can be crispy, and it's a properly cooked piece of chicken is not an easy thing to do, especially a chicken breast, because it can get dry. And I mean, that chicken looked dry, but it's actually a really amazing thing if you can do it properly. And if he can do it properly and serve them a really amazing chicken breast that's juicy and not dry, I see no problem with that. Now, again, I'm just not catering to me. I'm not the type of person that's going to go to a super yacht because I can't afford that. But it's just, I disagree with her on this. But I guess when you're talking about people who, especially with Gigi being an Olympic gold medalist and whatever, I think she was gold, right? Yeah, maybe a chicken isn't the right thing to do. I hear him when he says he's trying to come up with a protein that everyone is going to enjoy, because you have someone who doesn't want red meat. You have someone who doesn't want seafood. So, okay, fine. But I understand him. But we've seen other chefs gear to people's needs and wants and preferences with food. And that sometimes means cooking different meats or cooking and presenting different plating. Depending on, someone might be gluten-free, someone might be vegan. You're not going to serve the people who aren't vegan, just to say, for example, tofu. You're not going to necessarily do that. You're going to cook a steak, and then for the vegan, you're going to maybe give them, I don't know, a cauliflower steak or something, for example. So he's not realizing that as a chef on a super yacht, that sometimes means you have to cook more than one protein. It's there for you. Do it. You get provisions. You're getting whatever you need. So use what's given to you. And if that means someone is getting red meat while someone else is getting lobster, so be it. Even those people who maybe don't even want either of those things, then maybe those people can get a chicken or something, So it's kind of, again, the inexperience of him and maybe not wanting to overwhelm himself, which I get it. But you are a chef on a super yacht. They do get overwhelmed. So maybe this was not the gig for him. Now, the tip, Gigi says, reflects the food not being the greatest, but they still got a really great tip, which was $25,000. That's an amazing, imagine what it could have been, but it's still amazing. So, I mean, good for them on that. Now, from what we can see with next week, it doesn't look like the food really gets any better. Because some person was saying, I think someone mentioned something was dry or whatever. So we're seeing this kind of happening again, and he's not improving. I have a theory. I have a theory for everybody. Okay. So if everyone remembers when I talked about Sandy getting married, right? There was a rumor, wasn't confirmed, but there was a rumor that Dave was the chef who cooked for Sandy's wedding. Now, as we can kind of see, the wedding seems to be happening towards the tail end of the season. So I think after the season is done, that's when the wedding happens. Because we have like Asia's there. It seems like everybody's kind of there. So I think this is kind of happening. And I think they mentioned it happened on Mystique. So that's why I'm saying it's probably happening towards the tail end of the season, obviously. And the rumor is Dave was the one who cooked, like I mentioned. I have a sneaking suspicion because, again, we see her calling up Norma saying, I'm going to need a backup. And I do suspect that backup is going to be Dave. And I think Jono is going to lose his job. Unfortunately, I really do like him as a person, but I just don't think he's cut out for this. But I do think Jono's going to lose his job. And I think Dave is coming back. And I think Dave was a great cook. Sandy loved his food. Obviously, with the drama between him and Natasha, this didn't help shit. But with Natasha out of the way, it'll be really incredible to see how he actually can be and how the potential of him really is with Natasha out of the way. So it would be nice if Margot could come back, but that's okay. Dave can come back too. That's fine. I think Dave is coming back. And I think John is going to get fired after this charter. I don't even know if he's going to make it through the charter, the next charter 3. I'm not even sure he's going to make it through. But if he does somehow manage to make it through, he will get fired at the end of charter 3 if it continues on that course. And then I think Dave is coming on. That's my theory. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the food aspect of things. Now, this kind of drama that's kind of going on between, should I talk about the drama or I'm going to quickly, before I talk about the drama between Ellie and Bree, I'm going to talk about the whole situation on the beach with Gail and I think it was Cho and I think the other guy too. That whole thing, listen, I think Ian is incompetent. I think he doesn't have a fucking clue what's going on around him. I don't think he knows his head from his ass. I don't think he's a good bosun, is what I'm trying to get at. Now, he's not Raygun bad, but he's Raygun. But it is, I know her name is Raygun, guys, but anyways, Raygun, it's always Raygun. He's not as bad as her, but Sandy tells him something about being on the boat because of safety reasons, which I get. We all know how Sandy is about the safety. I totally understand. However, she does say to him, you can go set up at the beach, but then you gotta come back. And he takes that and runs with it and then doesn't even go on the beach to help them set up. There's no leadership. They're not being directed on what to do. This whole thing with the game situation, which I'm going to talk about in a second. I'm going to come for Maisha in a minute. I love her very, very much. And I hate that I'm going to have to do it, but I'm going to have to do it in a second. I'll get there in a minute. But there's no leadership. There's no organization with what they're supposed to do. So, so they're going back because these guys are really eager to get on this fucking beach. Okay. A beach that looks like every other regular ass beach, but they're really excited to go on this beach. And they keep asking, can we go now? Can we go now? Are we there yet? Like, seriously, that's how they're acting. And they're told, okay, 5 minutes, whatever. And Anne is communicating with Sandy as well as Aisha on this whole situation, obviously off the mic. But then the way they find out that he's headed to the beach with the guests with nothing set up is when he radios to Sandy that he's on the way to the beach with the guests. What the hell? And I understand the hesitancy of not confronting him and saying, can we have a little more communication? Like, can we, I mean, I don't know how long it takes to set up a beach. They were there for about 20, 25 minutes. And I mean, something clearly had been done, but they weren't finished. But a little communication could have gone a long way. And he didn't do that. And that's part of his leadership issues and the lack of leadership on the beach. Whether if he himself didn't want to go, then maybe he needs to appoint a lead deckhand, and like who can do something like this. And I don't think he's appointed a lead yet, if I'm correct. But anyway, just a hot mess. And I think also too, he'd mentioned that he didn't want to micromanage them. You don't have to micromanage them, but then don't manage them at all. Like this guy. Anyways, the other thing that like I said I was going to talk about very quickly, since we're on this topic, isn't it the interior's job to kind of handle the games and stuff? At least the game planning, not necessarily the setup, but like the planning of it. I felt like Aisha was kind of like, do we have any games? And because Sandy kind of apparently, although I don't remember Sandy saying this, apparently he says that Sandy says that to not, like, Gigi's going to handle the games that they're going to play. And I don't know how accurate that was. I feel like I missed that. But anyways, I'm just like, you can't think of something yourself too? Like, I did agree with Asia that you should plan ahead just in case. But if it's not interior's job, I don't know. I'm curious. Only reason why I'm saying that is because I remember vaguely a previous season of one of the iterations, whether it was Down Under or might even been Adventure, that they had a similar situation and it was like, no, it's Interior's job to kind of figure that out. I remember there being a situation like that with Daisy and Gary, who we shouldn't even mention his name because he's a disgusting asshole. We all knew that. But where there was the whole drink mishap and whatever, that was Interior's job to deal with and not Exterior. But either way, I just thought that and I'm like, I don't know. But anyways, Aisha can do no wrong. I absolutely love her, you know. Yeah, anyway. She can do no wrong for me. But with that said, though, let's kind of head to the night portion of After Charter. Actually, I'm going to have to go back a little bit before we can get into that. But we are going to talk about that. Now, this whole situation between this triangle thing that's forming between Ellie, Bree, and Joe. I don't get the hype with this fucking guy. But anyways, it's funny because both of these women are starting to see that Joe is flirting with both of them. And Ellie to Bree in the laundry room says, I'm not here to fight anyone over a man, which gives me the impression that whatever fuck shit Joe does with me and or you, I'm not going to fight you over it. We're not here. It's funny too. I'm going to mention this because this came in my head. She's literally says to Bree, we're here for a short time, not a long time. I'm not going to be marrying any of these guys anyways. I'm just trying to have some fun. Yet during the partying, the being at the club, she literally says, so yes, me and Joe are going to have 2 dogs. He doesn't know it yet. That's alluding to you want a future with this guy who you barely know. Like, what is happening? And Bree, though, is under the impression that they're kind of on the same page here. But at the same time, they still want to pursue this fucking guy. And he's still flirting with both of them. He's dancing up on Ellie and whatever. We have Bree saying she wants to stick in her mouth. It's a whole thing. And it's like, you're both ridiculous in your own ways. And here's why. Megs, you are not. Because Megs would be here being like, I just want to get off. Like, I don't care about anything, which is totally fine. Now, she made the wrong choice being with fucking Gary. But anyways, either way, you have Ellie who's acting a fool for this guy, thinking she's going to be having wedding bells with him or something. It's the weirdest thing. And it's like, no, he's just trying to get his dick wet. And if that means he can get his dick wet with you and her, he's going to do it. And like, why are you even wasting your time with this guy? If you want to have sex with him and be done, cool. I don't care. Now, I don't think both of you should, but whatever. It is what it is. You're there, like they said, there for 6 weeks and you're going to have whatever. And then with Bree, I feel like Bree understands the assignment. Where the assignment is, I'm just going to get off with this guy and go about my day. Like she literally uses the wording, I want to hook up with him. So I don't think she's going to end up being like a Sunny who thinks she's going to fall in love with this fucking guy. But she's like, I just want to have some fun. And that's okay. But they're not quite understanding each other. And when you have Ellie being like, well, she knows I like him. Like, what the fuck? And then you have Bree being like, well, she knows I'm into him. And it's like, you're both idiots. You're both dumb. I mean, if you all both understand the assignment, then fine. And then there's him. He's gonna tear up the interior because of this. There's only 3 of them. We got Isha, we got Ellie, we got Bree. Isha's obviously not gonna get mixed up in all that shit because she's supposed to be engaged. Okay. But her interior is gonna blow the fuck up over this fucking guy who, I don't get it. I mean, he's not an ugly guy, don't get me wrong, but I just don't understand the hype. Like, what's the big deal? I don't understand. But anyways. Well, looks like it's gonna get really interesting as we go along. Maybe, we can potentially add another man onto this boat who doesn't want to take a back seat in leadership and isn't gay on this boat, and then they can take care of one of the other ones and we're fine. And also, what is going on with Gail and her little thing with that guy whose name I can't remember right now? Is it Nathan? Nate? Who cares? But she has a boyfriend. And listen, I don't care. If she wants to fuck around and find out, go for it. But when you're asking like, oh my God, I have this boyfriend. I've been with him for 6 months. He's a second engineer and all of this different thing. And, like whatever, we need to go to a place where it's like no cameras so we can, I don't know, something about strawberries. And it's like, okay, you want to talk in code about whatever's going on between you and what's his face, but your boyfriend is still going to watch this back because if you're still together, which you're probably not anymore, but your boyfriend's going to watch this back with you because you're on a fucking Bravo show that's popular as fuck. And he's going to watch this show and he's going to realize what the fuck is happening between you and what's his face. And he's going to be like, what the fuck is a strawberry? What the fuck are you going to go do in this one section doesn't have any cameras? And then you get caught on the way to set place with no cameras by cameras. It's fucking poetic. But anyways, I don't have anything else to add to this episode for Below Deck Med, but yeah, so far so good on episode 3 of the season. And I'm kind of happy that I can get this out to you so quickly because I actually watched it tonight. So yeah, well, Monday, I'm recording on the Monday night. So yeah, that's basically it for this episode. I'm going to scoot you into the outro so you get all of the information as you always do. But that is it for this week. So if you like what you heard, please rate, review the podcast on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, don't forget that you can also share us with everyone in your life if you really love this. And I do want to read those reviews. I'm definitely getting 5-star ratings, but I want to read those reviews. So send me those reviews and I will read those 4 and 5-star reviews on the podcast. Also, we're on every one of your favorite podcast apps. Every one of them, including you can find us on YouTube at Reality Tea Times 2. If you want to connect with us, you can do so by going to either Facebook or Instagram at Reality Tea Times 2. You can also find us on Twitter, TikTok, Reddit at Reality Tea Times 2 Pod. We also have our email, which is at realityteatimes2 at hotmail.com. Definitely want to hear from you guys. And we also have our new website where you can listen to all of these episodes. You can review the podcast on there as well. You can connect with me in any way, all the stuff. It's all there, and you can find me there at www.realityteatimes2, all spelled out, .podpage.io. It's there. And don't forget, I also have my other podcast with my friend Mikkel, Next Take Podcast, where we talk about all kinds of different topics. But you can find us on any of your favorite podcast apps over there as well. Or you can also go to YouTube, and you go to Next Take Podcast, as well as our website, which is solo.to/Next Take Podcast. So yeah, there's that, and that's basically that. And again, don't forget, if all of this information is overwhelming, we do have all of the links, everything in our show notes. But that is it for now, guys. Thanks.